The Israeli government has announced that it mounted a rescue operation in Ethiopia. This is violent clashes between the Ethiopian army and the Fano militia in the Amhara province in the country's north are continuing. On Thursday afternoon, 4 aeroplanes took off from the northern Ethiopia region to the capital, Addis Ababa, carrying around 200 passengers, Israeli citizens, and some Jews who are eligible for immigration as well. And joining me now here in studio to break this down further is Elias Inbram, an Israeli-Ethiopian lawyer and social activist and a former civil servant in Israel's foreign ministry. I'd like to thank you so much for being able to come to the studio this evening and start by asking you exactly who was on these planes, if you had by any chance spoken to some of them beforehand, and just how many of them are left behind.
Well, most of them are Israelis. First of all, good job for the government of Israel of rescuing any Israeli, not only in Ethiopia, from everywhere. Most of the group who are on their way to Israel are Israelis, with Israeli citizens. Some of the Israelis who were in Shlichut in Ethiopia, in Gondar and other places. They were in the war area, mainly in the region of Amhara. And they are coming to Israel, but the government is not rescuing the Jews who are remaining in Amhara region or in Tigray region. They are not dealing with that at all. They brought some of them under the law of return, not under the governmental decision which united the families. First, some of them came to Israel 10 years or 20 years ago, and there are families who are remaining in Amhara region and Tigray region. The government is not dealing really with the people who are waiting to make aliyah to Israel under the governmental decisions.
Right.
They brought some. It's a nice picture. It's beautiful. It's a nice PR for Israel, rescuing Israeli. But the real voice that the government will hear will be on Sunday, which many families in Israel will demonstrate against the Minister of Absorption and Aliyah Minister.
Well, as you mentioned, this is a great PR stunt in a sense for the Israeli government, but more so than that, it's also some of the pictures coming out are simply remarkable, and many are going to say that it looks very similar to the images that came out of the daring operation in the 1980s and the 1990s to bring thousands of Ethiopians here to Israel. But again, there's also a bad side of this, that perhaps there are many that are going to be left behind and wanting to come to Israel still in an area of conflict. And so the question is, what happens to them, and will this change the government's decision to possibly look at bringing even more of them here?
Well, the situation in Ethiopia is very fragile. The war started 3 years ago in Tigray region. Tigray was under siege for 2 years without food, without any access to humanitarian aid. Not only the Jews suffer there, the entire region, 9 people suffer there. Now the war is turning to the Amhara region, and the entire residents are suffering there. It's not distinguished between Jews and non-Jews. And in our job in Israel is to make sure that the Jews who are under the law of return will come to Israel. And the government of Israel is not doing a serious job in this area. You bring some Israelis with Israeli citizens, it's great, good job. You bring a little bit of Jews who are under the law of return, good job. But first of all, bring all the Jews who are entitled to move to Israel under the law of return, and then you can deal with the rest of the people. What I advise to Minister of Absorption, Mr. Sofer, is to talk with the Ethiopian Qasim, the Ethiopian rabbi from Tigray and from Amhara, and to make once and for all one decision. What are you going to do with the remaining thousands of people who are claiming they are Jews and waiting to move to Israel already almost for 20 years?
Absolutely. It's a good question, and hopefully it will bring some answers here on the I-24 News Desk. Elias Inbram, I'd like to thank you so much for your time here.